lot can be said for American heritage. It is built, it is crafted, and it is earned. As a nation, the things we build define who we are. They bear our signature, our mark, and they embody our heritage. Introducing the all-new Colt Python. Remembered and reborn. Colt, still making history.
Shooting USA is brought to you by Luth AR. Innovate to elevate with USA-made parts and accessories for your MSR. And by Armageddon Gear, the leader in long-range shooting accessories. You want to get it right when you're dealing with history. And if you're talking about the Civil War, you really don't want to be FARB. That's the reenactor community's term for something that is not historically accurate, like wearing a wristwatch or modern eyeglasses with your Yankee or Confederate uniform. And that goes for the firearms, too. Most modern reproductions need some work before they can pass for the real thing. One Tennessee gunsmith specializes in that and calls it defarbing, his word for making the new look old. Autumn is just coming on in the hills west of Nashville, where skirmishers from the 9th Kentucky Volunteers are searching the woods for Confederate irregulars. Except for the sound of a busy interstate just the other side of the tree line, you could almost believe it's 1863.
Use your cover.
They wear the right clothes, they carry the right guns, and they tell us that if you think about it hard enough, the illusion, the roles they are all playing, can become something very close to real.
In reenacting, we call that a bubble moment. For just a split second, you're there, and those who have never had it don't understand it.
Ready.
And those who have had it don't know how to really explain it.
Fire.
When you're that far into the zone, you might be shooting at the enemy or at supper on the hoof for the entire squad. The first shot is a miss, but the pig is brave and stands his ground until a volley brings him down.
Fire. Recover arm, shoulder arm.
First Sergeant and modern-day gunsmith Todd Watts has worked on every one of the rifles here today to make them more historically accurate. 4 Enfields and 1 Springfield, all modern reproductions, and all modified and upgraded to look more like originals. Some of them are modeled after specific Civil War guns. Not just a generic musket, but a particular one that a particular soldier carried.
The weapon I carry is based off of one that Todd Watts actually got his hands on. So that is a piece of history that actually fought in the war that now has been remade for me that I can take and teach history with.
The gun on the right is an original, an Enfield made in 1861. On the left, a defarbed reproduction. Only an expert can see the difference. An expert like 9th Kentucky reenactor Craig Barry, who literally wrote the book on how to make a copy look real.
The Enfield rifle muskets were largely handmade. And of course, all the reproductions are machine-made. So immediately, you spot differences that are unique to a handmade article. That's the first thing that you notice with a machine-made gun is the stock contours and everything are a little bit different. You see how much thinner in profile the hammer is on the reproduction versus the original, where it's much thicker. Also, the hammer screw on the reproduction is rounded at the end, and the hammer screw on the original is a flat head.
These guys say you can read and study all you want, but nothing helps you understand and teach Civil War history better than getting out there and playing the part as true to life as you can.
We try to be as authentic as possible. Obviously, everything's reproduction. We don't carry authentic gear in the field, but if we're carrying what they would have had, we almost can get on a level of where they would have been.
So exactly what happens to a new reproduction muzzleloader to make it old? Well, Sergeant Watts will show us how he does the defarb for those who want to be historically accurate. Coming next. Old age and old steel make most Civil War firearms too valuable and too dangerous to shoot in the modern era. Well, one of the reenactors we just saw is among the very few gunsmiths who work to make new copies of Civil War guns look even more like the originals in ways that many of us might never even notice. The soldiers of the 9th Kentucky are really careful about how they look. They say their clothes are pretty close to historically accurate, and the guns are even closer. A lot of that goes back to Todd Watts, one of maybe a half dozen Civil War firearms defarbers in the entire country, working with details that most of us would never pick up on, like the engraving around the lock of a reproduction Enfield musket, which has one line where there should be two.
When I finish all the way around, I'll put the second line just outside of this line.
Most modern Civil War reproductions are made in Italy, and a few in India. Some are better than others, but they all show up here needing some work.
The stocks are too big. The contours are wrong. As you can see on this one, I've been correcting the contours already to match the originals.
Serial numbers, inspection marks, anything that's not correct has to go. And there's plenty of room to do that because the barrels on the new ones are usually much thicker and heavier than the originals. Todd calls that lawyer proofing. The idea here is to have each rifle looking as it would have during the war.
A lot of what's going on in defarbing is making it real for the reenactor. He's the one who's out in the woods trying to get that bubble moment where he's actually there in 1862.
Factory machine work gives each gun a shape. Todd's handwork gives it a soul. Even the smallest things are important, like chipping out tiny bits of the stock
Like a chisel.
to fit a historically correct washer.
So all I do is I just keep working at this. It's tedious, but you can't rush it. If you rush it, you will make mistakes and you can't fix them early. So now I am basically insetted now.
Todd only charges about $300 for a defarb because it's not about the money. He just loves working on these guns and helping other reenactors get it right.
I go as a armorer to reenactments. I mean, I'm out there shooting and all that, but I have on the field several times over the years had somebody bring me a gun that stopped working halfway through a battle. And for me, it's kind of fun to fall back behind the line and see how fast I can fix it.
Todd figures that he's done about 600 defarbs altogether. Each one takes 12 to 14 hours. and he's had at least one buyer try to pass off one of his guns as the real thing. So Todd leaves his mark under the butt plate as proof that his Defarbs are not really as old as they look.
Squad, ready. Aim. Fire.
But it's hard to tell the difference when you watch the guns in action. Look closely enough, believe hard enough, and the muskets and the battle could almost be real.
Thanks again for checking out Shooting USA on YouTube. There are a number of ways you can help support the show and our efforts. One, SUSA15 is a discount code that saves you 15% off anything at snapsafe.com. From the vault doors and the modular safes all the way down to the lock boxes. 15% SUSA15. If you're not looking to do any shopping, a simple like or a comment, or we'd be honored to have your subscription. It really does help the channel.